Hello and welcome. I'm Gohar Raza and you are watching Eureka. Human beings have always been bothered about diseases, infections, etc. They cause death and therefore it's scary. And therefore they thought about what causes diseases. There were many theories propounded by many people over centuries. One of the theory was that we have 7 skins and spirits get into it and bad spirits cause disease. But there were scientists. There were scientists who kept on thinking about much deeper questions. And we came to a conclusion that it is germs and viruses that cause diseases. We will be discussing that today. Very welcome to Rajya Sabha's channel, Dr. Salunke. Before I get into very difficult and very interesting questions, interesting from the perspective of scientist as well as common citizen on planet Earth, when you are a child, you come from a background where the economic hardship was daily drudgery. Who inspired you to be a good student?
The inspiration substantially come from the environment in which I grew up, but major influence was from my parents. They grew up in very difficult circumstances. One of the remarkable thing with them is they recognized very early if the children have to progress, they should study. And they did anything and everything possible to ensure that I get good education.
You started whatever good education was available at that time to you and your parents and family within the economic hardship that you were facing. But you also had to work after study hours to substantiate whatever earning was there within the family. That didn't take you away from the studies?
When you grow up in a small village, working along with rest of the family is a normal thing. You have, along with your land, you have domestic animals, so you take them for grazing, you have milk the buffaloes, and this is all very normal. Everybody,
This is part of education
part
itself.
of the education itself.
And upbringing.
Upbringing. So this was little more important in cases like mine, where family income is less, our land is limited. So my parents ensured that we are engaged with these things so that we have slightly better situation. So working is normal, but there were, I think one of those times when I was growing up, there was a drought year when I was in class 8 or something. So that summer I was inspired that I have to work harder, so I went and worked on a stone quarry for a month. And that is a very remarkable experience that I had. That vacation I spent working on a stone quarry, carrying the stones.
How much did you earn?
I earned 1 rupee per day.
1 rupee per day for lifting.
Lifting there is a block of stones, you carry it from the mine down up and put it on the machine. So one block you finish, that would take about half a day, and that would fetch you 1 rupee.
Who recognized for the first time that you are going to be a good student and you should be encouraged? Was it family or was it school?
My family, my parents were completely uneducated. There was a spark they thought that I showed. But my teachers, see, remember I studied in a government school, but those days in 59, 60, schools were very good. Teachers were fantastic. They were very committed. So my primary school teachers always recognized I was good. I was actually given a lot more responsibilities in the school than normal student would be.
When you are saying those days, 60s and 70s, implicit message is that today government schools are not as good.
I should not be saying that with conviction, because I am so far removed from the government school education, primarily because my daughter didn't study in the government school. And I would be making a mistake to completely say that, because I have received quite a few students for doing PhD under my supervision in last 10 years who have come from a government education, and they were extraordinary students. So even today we do have very bright student coming from a background which is similar to mine, going to the government school, yet making it big. And this is one of the great things with our country. You actually get opportunity even if you belong to a
very poor family
background.
and hardship during childhood. I'm sure that teachers are listening to you and they feel very happy that some teachers molded you into a bright, excellent scientist who is doing excellent work for the country. I have to take a small break. Don't go anywhere. We'll come back soon. Welcome back. Dr. Salunke, you not only studied in the best of the institution in the country, but you also had an opportunity to go abroad and study and gather experience, scientific experience. When did you realize that the bigger questions that need to be asked are important for your life and you should work on those? Because you shifted from physics, where you excelled, to an area which was upcoming, which was not very matured when you started doing your PhD.
I think that's a very, very important question. I realized right at that time when I was doing my master's degree that I should actually do something big. And exciting thing at that time, with great discoveries made by physicists in biology. So it was quite fascinating that with background and understanding of methods and concepts in physics, you can probe biological systems. It is while studying material science, I realized matter is not only inanimate, but animate matter is also important. So distinction between living material and non-living material was fascinating for me. And so I shifted to try and probe using the same techniques of material science.
And you had to train yourself in biology?
I had to train myself in biology.
Was it difficult?
That was difficult because my education as undergraduate and postgraduate was physics, mathematics, statistics.
Correct.
So I went to study in Indian Institute of Science. Luckily, lot of people came there with physics background. So my teachers and my PhD supervisor, Professor Vijayan, recognized that I need to take courses in biology and biochemistry departments. So that barrier actually crossing was an important step. But our training was, we were still physicists by mind. We were asking questions in biology as a physicist. And that is also one of the reasons why the success becomes a lot more interesting, because you are looking at the problem in a different angle altogether.
But when did you decide that immune system of various species is going to be the area where you will be working? Because there were many exciting things happening. DNA structure was found. All kinds of new researches were coming up, right from maybe history to paleontology to any discipline. It was invading. Why did you decide the immune system?
Those are circumstantial decisions. In my opinion, even today, the science in the universe is so exciting. No matter what problem you get to work on, it would be exciting to address, because discovery is most fascinating. It doesn't matter which direction you go. As a student, I realized when you look at the materials, the most exciting thing at that time was proteins. So for the first time, I'm one of the first people to embark upon looking at protein structures rather than organic molecules. When I went abroad, I worked on viruses because there were fascinating things that had come up with it. It was the circumstances.
But the protein structure that you mentioned just now also gave boost to a new kind of research merged with crystallography in the country. How do you look back at that contribution now?
I think the protein crystallography as a subject has matured in the country, and we are actually a force to reckon with. But nucleation of that started when I was a graduate student in biophysics department of Indian Institute of Science.
But you personally made very substantial.
I was one of the first persons involved in it, and I was lucky to have crystallized the protein for the first time, which was indigenously made and purified. So I feel very excited about being one of the first, and I have always got recognition for that all along. But coming back to my interest in immunology, when I was returning to India and looking for opportunities, the National Institute of Immunology actually welcomed me with open arms. They gave me laboratory resources to the level which is remarkable.
It was international level?
At international level. The best resources that you can get were made available to me by the institute.
And you also had the brightest students coming, the best of the mind,
and
you could choose?
I was able to attract very bright students, and the institute provided me fantastic opportunities. And because I came to Immunology Institute, I realized while in Rome, be like Romans, in the immunology environment, addressing those questions using my training in crystallography made it a lot more interesting, and I brought a new facet while working there. So immunology, what I did, if probably I was in another environment, I would have been studying transcription, or I would have been looking at membrane structure. But in the Immunology Institute, to be able to address questions in immunology, yet using my perspective, was an interesting thing.
And what was the big question that you were asking at that time? Big scientific question I'm asking.
Big scientific question fascinated me is, I recognized the immune system is highly specific, and what makes that specificity for this system, and I thought I would address that at structural level. At that point of time, we actually came across two different molecules. One is a protein and other a peptide, and other is a carbohydrate. These molecules have very different chemistries, and we could see if you immunize mice with either of these molecules, the antibody response you get is cross-reacting with each other. So immune system is treating these two molecules.
Why was it fascinating for you?
It was fascinating to me because we
two different molecules invoking same response. What implications does it have?
The implications of that for me as a structural biologist would mean these chemistries are different, but topologies of these molecules must be similar. And I set out to prove their topologies are similar. And that would have become a basis for developing a new generation of vaccines, because you would know how to develop a topology using another basis which will be similar to the infectious agent. So we thought we could actually make mimics of new molecules if you understand the basis for this. What it turned out is that we did not see these two molecules to be topologically similar. Instead, the receptors had lot of plasticity. So what we discovered was the immune system is capable of being very plastic to be able to provide leeway to recognize not similar molecules,
but also dissimilar molecules. Now you could produce these molecules in the lab and use them as new vaccines, which are structurally different.
That would require a lot more interesting investigations. Had these two molecules been different chemistries but similar topologies, making newer vaccines would be a lot easier. But if they are completely different molecules, getting structural principles associated with them and why the receptors have plasticity to recognize them to be similar is an interesting question right now. So I would not go.
Has it given birth to new technologies?
It has not given birth to new technologies, but it has given birth to new ideas. Our understanding of specificity are different. It has given new paradigms to understand immune system.
So this has brought a paradigm shift. I have to take a break. Don't go anywhere. The discussion will continue. Welcome back. We were discussing that how immune system and its understanding over a period of time has changed, and your contribution specifically in developing understanding about how our immune system reacts to the invasion. One of the things that when I read about this particular area is very harsh words are used. Those words which are used for war. Why has biology always used those words as far as our immune system is concerned?
Actually, when I try to describe to younger students about the functioning of cell, I describe it to be sociology of living cell. At
No, does it
molecular
have
level,
something to do with the war, First World War and Second World War, when exciting things were happening in this
Probably.
area, that we still use those words?
Right.
Invasion, defense, all kinds
So
of
at
words.
molecular level, I thought the behavior of molecules in the size space of angstroms or nanometers is very similar to social structures that we see. In my opinion, the behavior of molecules is very natural. We have not done it, but our behavior and wars are created by us. So
There is nothing natural about that. Absolutely nothing.
So
Yeah.
the war between host and the pathogen is a survival instincts at a cellular level.
Right.
So we have a defense. It is like our army. The immune system is our army. So that analogy is not easy to understand. And
See,
it's
a
not
lot of money has gone into it. You have headed and created institutions within the country of very high learning and almost parallel to any good institute or excellent institute in the Western countries. Why should India, a poor country, invest so much in research? Let them do research. We will have Make in India.
you will not be able to make in India unless you have a prepared mind. You have to have a skilled people, capable people to think, to be able to even utilize the research that is done by others. So it is very important to be with the prepared mind. In fact, it is always said great ideas come to the prepared mind. So to be able to exploit what has been discovered by anybody else, all scientific discoveries are never made from origin, absolute nothing. They are made on the basis of known knowledge everybody else, and you go to the next step. So if you want to make use of discoveries made by the others, also you have to be prepared. And so if you want to exploit scientific discoveries, technologies that have been advanced to use, and it has shown in India's history, from green revolution to white revolution to IT revolution, now biotechnology revolution, it is our leadership has come because this country has investment. So growth and achievements of India, whatever we see today, is because we have invested in last 60 years. So we have it in front of us. What we have achieved today is because we invested. So we should continue to invest for better glory for our people. And we are doing it for the society. It happens automatically. It should be recognized that it is very natural. What we have achieved today is because of that. There are countries, I actually have attended diplomatic meetings for science for diplomacy, and I realized the poor countries in Africa and all have not recognized this fact. What we are doing today, what we have achieved today is because we invested, and there is no reason we should stop now because we see results in front of us.
So you give all the credit to the leadership, scientific as well as political leadership of early period of our
Our
independence.
scientific and political leadership has been extraordinarily wise in all these years. I have been fascinated to see them. I have met over a period of last 30 years many important politicians. When I talk to them, they actually believe that we are doing something worthwhile. It is
Do you
very
also
important.
think that democracy, the fate of democracy, the future of democracy and future of science are intertwined? One cannot exist without the other?
I have not thought about implication of science to politics to that extent. What I have been contented with so far in the past is that this country has made investment in science and it has led to fruits, and we should continue to invest in science. It will give bright future.
Are you worried that it has been expenditure on science and research has been stagnant as compared to China? They have increased it to threefolds. We are at 0.75 of GDP.
I have not compared China and India. Structures are different. We were at a meeting other day. I realized that China, when they decide that they have to acquire land, they can just go and acquire. In India, you have to actually make peace with the people, make sure that they are convinced and do it. Our processes are slow. The great thing about our democracy is we go it democratically. So I don't mind going little slow, but it is better our way. So I don't have problem about that. I would really not worry about China.
Which also means that you will have to invest much more than what Chinese is spending, if you have to come up to that level.
I don't know why we are fixated about China.
Right.
If you look at the Mangalyaan mission that went with so little money from India, ahead of everybody else with no failures. So we are capable of doing things. What we really need to do as scientists to intensely believe in our strength. And you said earlier that we are a poor country, but I thought we are a rich country. We have strength of people of this country. We are great intellectuals in large numbers. So we should actually rely on that strength and we should deliver on the basis of that. The investment back and forth, we can negotiate that. I don't think there is a problem. I never thought, even today, I never thought we should be worried about investment. We can attract investment, we can convince people. It is our important job to make sure that this country continues to invest. I am very hopeful and I am very positive person.
You have been working with the best of the facility, as you said, so you never faced personally any problems of investment, but other scientists do feel that more investment should be there in science and technology. However, whatever contribution you have made has made a significant impact, and it has been recognized. You got all kinds of awards, including Bhatnagar Award, which is considered to be Nobel Prize of India. Do you feel that these awards excite scientists and motivate them to do better work?
But I will go back to what you said earlier. It is not true that I have been extraordinarily supported and others are not. The support level that I get and others get are comparable. It is the way of looking at it, glass half full and glass half empty. No matter how much resources I get, if I get little more, it will still be useful. I am pragmatic and positive, and I am always engaged to try and convince the establishment, government to give us more funding. I will never say that money that is given to us is sufficient and we should not worry. That is not true. Money given to us is still very small and we want more money, but I think we can actually have this dialogue and convince and get the more funds. But we shouldn't be complaining, we should be persuading the establishment to provide us funding, and which will do better. So it is always a balancing, which is something that I look in a positive mind, and that brings more creativity. I think it is possible always to generate more funds. It is possible to convince at different times, different realities, priorities one makes, but it is possible to convince our political establishment to invest, and we should do that. I am not saying we
that is one of the responsibilities of the scientific leadership in the country.
Yeah.
How were you excited when you got this award called Bhatnagar Award as a young scientist?
I always believed that mantra where you should do your work, what excites you, what you are enthusiastic about is discovery that you make, and that is a great kick. It is almost like a creator. If you are an artist, you are a writer, you get the same kick when you come up with your product. So when you do make discoveries, you get excited. But it is the bonus when you actually get these recognitions.
And so you consider this only as a bonus, and the main excitation lies in your discovery.
But that bonus really transforms your life, is what I discovered. My illiterate mother did not know what I was doing, and she knew that I was trying to do something great, it had no consequences to her. But when I got my Bhatnagar award, that is when actually it made huge difference for her. She realized that whole society is acknowledging
Knows
me,
now.
knows me.
Acknowledges.
So social recognitions are as important as the kick you get out of making discoveries. So I would not underplay their significance and importance. And I sincerely believe when we are recognized in this country, there is still way of balancing and ensuring that the best minds win.
Would you like to sign off by giving a message to younger generation? You will be a source of inspiration for them.
My message to younger generation is essentially to tell that science is an exciting career to take up. You get to do here what you are interested in doing, and yet society respects you, they pay you. You are not actually doing something and earning your livelihood. You are paid to do something that you want to do, and it is very exciting thing to do. So doing career in science has satisfaction to yourselves. You can actually do great deed for society because scientific base generated in the country would make sure that we progress even better. So even if you want to do good for the society, come to science and it will help you to nurture your own mind as well as help the society.
So science will help society. If you pick up science as a career, you are going to contribute significantly. That is what Dr. Salunke believes. May I, on your behalf, promise our viewers that if they have any questions or queries, they can write to us and you will be happy to answer?
Very happy.
Please do write to us if you have any question. Our email address is eurekarstv@gmail.com. We will be back next week with another outstanding scientist. Thank you very much for giving us so much of time and coming to Rajya Sabha channel.